Again, chapter 8 now. Okay, so this is called Making Music and it's set in October 2024. This is Skin Game by Alex Spear, and I'm broadcasting these on my channel. I think this is video number 6 from memory, but if you're listening to the whole book, just have a look and see which chapter you got to, and this is chapter 8. Okay, it's quite a long chapter. Here we go. Innocent is sitting in the dark in his beloved Ellis Marsalis Centre, waiting for the jazz band to start. He can see their shadowy figures on the stage. He feels rather trapped at a table with 3 strangers, but tonight's event is evidently very popular. The Ellis Marsalis Concert Hall in the Musicians' Village was part of the rebuilding in the area after Hurricane Katrina, the tropical cyclone that killed over 1,000 people. Innocent feels himself drawn to the classiness, the sophistication of this concert hall. There are tables set out cabaret style and every seat is full. New Orleans folk in fabulous dancing outfits with a rumble of talking just ebbing away as the music begins. He treats himself to a small glass of sweet white wine as usual to sip during the jazz. The heat is oppressive. Even for a born and raised New Orleans man such as himself, he is struggling. His neck is running with sweat into his crisply ironed and starched shirt collar. Looking around, he could have dressed down a little. He is used to sticking out as overdressed. He has ramrod straight posture and always wears a tie. Innocent does not realize that he is a handsome man, having always struggled somewhat with self-confidence. It is that time of year when White Linen Night has happened, but Labor Day has not yet. There are some very dapper gents in fine shirts that seem to gleam through the darkness now that the house lights have gone down. That is when he sees her. In the darkness through the crowd, his estranged wife, Mary Beth, the most beautiful woman in the world. Can it really be her? He feels like crying. The masochistic pleasure of the possibility of seeing her again. The bitter misery of losing her as she flits out of sight. He tries to jump up out of his seat. He is hemmed in by the table and the people around him. The wall is up against his elbow on one side, and a huge woman in a glittering jacket is inadvertently pinning his legs under the fussy arrangement of seating with her bulk. How can he get to this vision of his wife? She is disappearing. Already out of sight, he cannot be sure it was her. His heart is racing. Mary Beth? The music is starting up on the stage, and the stares of disapproval from the audience members around him are becoming impossible to see as the darkness becomes more complete. He wishes not for the first time that he were a brave man, but he sinks back down into his seat rather than risk public disapprobation. He is obedient to the crushing social expectations. But I could be with her right now. Was that her? Where is she? Did she see me? He is craning his neck so hard to the side that he can feel his muscles bunching up and burning. He is hardly aware of the tiny noises he is making, trying to catch a glimpse of her. In his mind, the daily addiction of his limerence is there once again. Crazy thoughts consume him. Perhaps she knew I would be here. Maybe she came to find me. She is waiting for me to run after her. She even arranged for the band to play our favorite. The singer, a middle-aged guy with a stubby beard, is belting out the familiar tune. He is accompanied by a trumpeter, and there is also a guy thumping a full drum kit, including cymbals, at the back of the jazz band, keeping the rhythm. It is a crowd pleaser, and the audience is joyfully joining in right away. What do I care how far we roam, little Liza Jane? Where she's at is home sweet home, little Liza Jane. Oh, little Liza Jane. Oh, little Liza Jane. Images of his wife, like sensual shadows, fill Innocent's mind as he tries to cling to reality. Was it someone else he saw? Another stunning girl? Perhaps he was mistaken. That thick, shiny hair, the bright eyes, the sweet swagger of a short, curvaceous woman who is used to attention and enjoys it. Innocent never remembers how desperately unhappy he was when Mary Beth was in his life. All he knows is that he needs her approval. He would move heaven and earth to gain one of her smiles, a crumb of affection. It wasn't just that she was a pretty, slender woman. There were others. Innocent often had women interested in him. He was a good man, a pastor no less. Being his wife and assistant seemed to be quite a number of local women to be a good way to support the church and God himself. And how could that be a bad thing? He had some money, he was attractive. There were beautiful women at his church who had wanted to marry him, but Mary Beth had just gotten under his skin. His upbringing had been chaotic, with his mother trying her best, but sometimes being angry and disorganized. He was not the sort to go to therapy as such. The church counselors had done their best with him. It could be that as a child he had not felt the love of the most important woman in his life, and so now he could not help trying to rush after the affection and respect of other women who were familiar in their inconsistency. He sits quietly trying to enjoy the concert, trying not to twitch and draw attention to himself. Whoever that girl was that he saw, she has brought back a flood of memories. As the music washes over him, he is recalling his courting days as if watching the younger version of himself in a movie. Innocent was still rather scandalized that he had not been able to wait till their wedding night to go to bed with his beautiful Mary Beth. She had somehow made him believe that it was his idea. "You mustn't think me a Jezebel if I give in to you during our engagement," she had pouted. Then she had placed his hand on the hem of her skirt and used it to push the fabric up to her waist. Innocent had seen a girl in her underwear a few times before that day. His own church pastor had been an advocate for the young men of the congregation to sow their wild oats before marriage, and Innocent had taken the advice seriously. Innocent was glad he had not attended one of the churches that was strict about purity before marriage. But women of ill repute were not recommended, in the same way that porn and masturbation were frowned upon. So what to do? As a local youth pastor, Innocent had been pretty effective at outreach. New Orleans was awash with sinners, and he had the zeal of a Christian soldier who knows of absolutely no alternative to his life of duty. Sweet Wanda. Innocent recalls meeting her years ago now. Two strangers, they had fallen into a chance conversation at a bus stop. He had been trying to persuade erotic dancers on Bourbon Street to give up their life of sin and come with him to his evangelical church. Wanda had already been a little too old for the stripping she had made her career. At 24, she had made a lot of money fast and had no parents to advise her. Innocent, at 17, was incredibly serious and spent his nights marching up and down the French Quarter, looking for souls to save. Occasionally he would have a placard. He was one of the few who did not object to gay folk and trans folk. The praying he had done about it had led him to the conclusion that it was not them that God wanted him to stop. New Orleans had traditional heterosexual sinners. Wanda had been one of them. He could picture her sweet young face in the darkness of a bus stop, illuminated by neon signs from clubs and bars all around. Amused by his determined expression, Wanda asks if she could come home with him that night so she could begin her new life in the morning. "I'll come to your church, I'll get baptized, you have made me see the error of my ways," she promises him. Innocent cannot tell whether she is teasing or not, but his zeal at 17 is undiluted. He is relieved when the RTA bus drives into sight, the lights inside the bus glowing in the darkness. The two of them sit next to each other on the back seat. They shyly hold hands. On the bus ride back to his mother's house, they debate the industries that depend on beautiful young girls like Wanda taking her clothes off. She laughs at his inexperience. "Porn is everywhere, silly boy. It's used to sell cars. And it's in every movie, even the family-friendly ones." But the porn industry, Innocent is ranting, his eyes shining at the opportunity to talk to a captive audience for the night. It is so horrendous. Women are held as slaves. But they do those interviews at the end of the videos, Wanda reasons. They say they're fine. They have to do those interviews. Innocent is waggling his index finger around as he warms to his point, if they want to get paid. Listen to me, I am a worker in the sex industry, Wanda tells him. I know better than you, Innocent. He has to admit that she is right. Innocent smuggles Wanda into his mother's house in Tremé. Wanda has travelled home with him in a large satin robe, which she now removes. Underneath are her work clothes, lingerie. Innocent has heard tell of such things. The sight of her blows his mind. In his bed, under his comforter, Wanda giggles and wriggles around. In wonderment, Innocent places his palms around her waist. Wanda takes his virginity. Innocent is wide-eyed as he tries to keep his gratitude at a low enough volume that his mother does not wake up and skin the pair of them alive. Wanda hadn't wanted to do it with Innocent again, to his horror. He had tried something he now wanted to do every night for as long as he lived. His second girlfriend had been Misha. She had been a virgin and he almost was. He borrowed a car from the archdiocese, claiming that he needed to provide services to parishioners, and in a way he did. Misha had not known what to do, and this left him feeling overwhelmed. Wanda's experience had carried him through, but now, with Misha's complete lack of knowledge about sex, he was confronted with his own clumsiness and ignorance of the delights of a girl's body. With Misha, he tried to slow down and explore her with scientific discovery. Her milky white Irish skin that gleamed almost blue. He could gaze in between her open legs all night in the back of the borrowed car. The jewels buried in pubic hair, startling in their pink contrast. Even though he was her first lover, Misha was left with a distinct impression that there was better sex to be had out there, and she chose not to be faithful to him. He had contained his misery and rage at being so easily replaced, and when, at the age of just 20 years old, he had married his beautiful Mary Beth, he had believed that everything would be different. Mary Beth had been a virgin when they met, and during their short engagement, Innocent had believed in heaven on earth. When their kids had tried to tell him that Mummy was angry, violent, or maybe even a little crazy when he was out of the house preaching, he would shush his children and tell them that that was a terrible lie. Mummy was perfect, and they should be grateful to have such an angel taking care of them all. When she had left him for the detective, Charles, Innocent had been a broken man. Surely this was some mistake. This could not be part of God's plan for his life. Innocent and his mother now live alone. He had never dreamed that he would have to do that, and initially he tried to maintain his adult life. He lived in his marital home and later in his car. His wife had disappeared, and living alone seemed to him to be so bleak. His mom had helped a lot with raising his kids, who all had families of their own by now. He had no siblings, but by way of his mother's sisters and the first few grandchildren being born, he has a huge family. And this is New Orleans. Everyone knows your business. For Innocent, he had cousins working in every store, every notary, every city department, and he could get the information he needed fast. Mary Beth had a small family growing up, and close. The kind of close that can be too close, with secrets and lies. Intermission at the concert rolls around at last, bringing Innocent back from his trip down memory lane. As soon as the house lights are back on and the concert hall is illuminated inside, Innocent extracts himself from the pile of folks around his table. He shimmies through the crowd, trying to head in the same direction where he thought his wife had disappeared. Got to find her, got to find her, got to get her back. His internal monologue is so fixed. He feels so certain that she and he are meant to be together. A flash of recollection is in the back of his mind. It was a hot summer night and the neighbors had called the police. The young cop had been honest with Innocent then. If she hits you this way and you have us help you, you can't be taking her back. You have to make a clean break. You might see it as you're just trying to be a forgiving husband, but the way we see it, you're just the man who cries wolf. You know what I'm saying? If you say one day you can't handle her behavior and the next day you want to give things another try, we don't know who to believe in that case. Just think carefully. You only get one chance. She has battered you, son. There is no doubt about that. She is an abuser. And she is abusing you. But if you ever take her back after this, you're on your own after that. If you call 911 again in the future, we will hang up the phone. No one will come help you. But I haven't done anything wrong, officer, Innocent was trying to explain. Well, you've committed the crime of being the guy who gets hit by his wife and does not put her in her place. No one likes that. It doesn't sit comfortable. Like I said, you have one chance. Get her out of your house and don't look back. But how could Innocent have ever done that? Mary Beth was the love of his life. He was addicted to her. He hadn't put the call into 911. It was the family next door who had done that. When she had hit him so many times out in the front yard that Innocent wasn't getting up again. He wasn't even yelling anymore. He was just lying there in silence, on his back, on their front lawn in the dark. They shouldn't have called you, Innocent was saying, trying to smooth over such an embarrassing situation. They overreacted. I've seen the CCTV footage, sir, the cop was saying quietly. Those neighbours probably saved your life. They thought she was going to kill you. She just wasn't going to stop. And so for several years now, Innocent had been in the most torturous confusion. His wife had had an affair with Charles the detective, which seemed to have had the effect of making all the notes on her record just disappear. And now she had gone. Innocent missed her terribly, and he missed having a grown-up man's life in his own house. Having to camp out on a friend's sofa felt embarrassing. At what point should he move on? When should he assume that his marriage was no longer in existence? He had hoped to have children, more children, and that the years were ticking away. He could not remember the last time he had had sex. It was certainly not this year. Driven mad by loneliness, he had gone impulsively to Bourbon Street one night in an attempt to locate his old flame, Wanda. She had reneged on her promise to come with him all those years ago to church. She had changed her mind about renouncing her life of sin. Although she has gotten older, she is still popular with some of the regulars who come specifically when they know she will be there. Innocent sees her right away. Wanda wears silver shoes with platform soles and great spikes for the heels. She is not wearing anything else. On a break between her stripping dances, she comes to sit with him in the club, pulling a shift dress over her head. He stares at the emerald green cotton that now covers her nakedness. It speaks to him of fig leaves in the Garden of Eden. They attempt to have a conversation, shouting over the music. He explains his predicament. You can't afford me, she is clear. Innocent gulps, realizing too late his mistake. Wanda seems to have read his mind. Oh, I see. You thought perhaps as we had a silly fling 15 years ago, I might want to do you again now for free. Memory lane? Or you had this weird male fantasy I've come across several times now, which is that somehow you are so incredible in bed that I refuse to charge you. I am a sex worker. I charge. I don't do it for free. None of us do. Maybe I can come up with the money. He is refusing to give up so easily. How much are we talking about? She tells him and he can't believe it. I am shocked, he tells her. Only for 20 minutes or so, nothing fancy. I told you that you could not afford me. Now calm yourself down, Innocent. What is to stop you from going out on a date with a girl who might want to sleep with you? Try a few of those internet computer dating sites. Oh no, he shudders. Something about the thought of being assessed and possibly rejected by girls he did not know on the internet has brought him crashing back down to earth. He could not do that any more than he could sprout wings and fly to the moon. It was just not in his nature. Maybe try to make some local friends instead and see where that leads. I'll bet there's a sweet girl around town you could court, Wanda soothes him. Your next wife is out there wanting you just as much as you want her. Innocent sighs as he says, as much to himself as to anyone else. I have all this love for my wife, and I don't know what to do with it. She does not want it, not from me. That's the end of chapter 8. Chapter 9 is called Thanksgiving. I think I'll pause the stream there, and I'll do another segment for chapter 9.